For some insight on President Obama's speech, I'm now joined live by foreign policy expert Richard Becker from San Francisco. Richard, thank you very much for being with us here on RT. Now, during his West Point speech, Barack Obama focused on his foreign policy achievements, including Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, do you think that this might be a little bit premature, considering that both of those countries are still in crisis?
Yes, of course. I mean, this was really a speech that might be described as visions of empire. You know, you have, as your lead-in said, President Obama again saying the United States is the indispensable nation. I don't know what that makes the other 190 countries in the world. I guess they're all dispensable. But I think the only way you can really reconcile that is if you consider the word indispensable as synonymous with invasive, because there's no country that has invaded more other countries in the world, that has violated human rights and international law more than has the United States, contrary to all of the nice sounding words that came out of President Obama's mouth today at West Point.
Now, you mentioned this violation of international law. Obama labeled Russia, Iran, and China as countries that he says are negligible of international law. This kind of reminds me of the axis of evil speech that Bush gave. Are there some similarities here?
Yes, I think definitely there's a constant effort by U.S. leaders to propagandize the people of the United States and to present them with those who we are supposed to fear, who we are supposed to consider to be enemies, those who supposedly justify enormous military budgets, which the U.S. military budgets continue to be the equivalent, if you take all the different departments of national security into account, as big as all the other military budgets of all of the other countries on Earth combined. And you know, you have to keep propagandizing the people, trying to tell them there's some deadly danger out there. I heard a statistic today saying that people in the United States are 35,000 times more likely to die of a heart attack than they are to die from terrorist attack.
So moving beyond this propaganda, moving beyond the words of the speech into actual action, days before the presidential election starts in Syria, Obama has mentioned that he's going to have more support for the country's opposition. What kind of support do you think this could be, and what kind of an effect do you think that this will have on the ongoing civil war?
Well, we know for a fact that the United States has been training the so-called rebels who they support in Syria in using more advanced anti-tank weapons and a great deal more than that. And what this is going to do, the impact of this will be to drag out and intensify the suffering, the terrible suffering that the Syrian people have undergone. And at the same time, you know, with all this talk about terrorism, it's really the U.S. invasions, the U.S. occupations, the U.S. interventions in Iraq and in Afghanistan and Syria and Somalia and Yemen and more that have greatly broadened the field for organizations like Al-Qaeda and its offshoots.
Now, kind of following that line of thought briefly, commenting on the drone program, President Obama said that the U.S. should not create more enemies than it takes out. Is this realistic considering its policies?
Again, propaganda, just pure propaganda. I mean, just imagine what it is like for people in Pakistan, in Yemen, in Somalia, and particularly in Pakistan and Yemen, where you have these drones flying over all the time. You can hear them buzzing. You have to live under the fear that at any moment the Hellfire missiles will be fired and you or your family or your friends will be torn to pieces. Is that going to create enemies? You know, I think posing the question answers it.
All right. Appreciate your thoughts. Richard Becker, thank you for being with us here on RT. As always, foreign policy analyst on RT.